What's going on, people? This is week 3 of the Online Dynasty. If you remember last week, or the last video I put up, it's been a while. I was letting you guys know that game number 2, unfortunately, did not record correctly, so you are stuck with game 3. We actually won game 2. It was actually a fantastic game. But again, unfortunately, my new computer decided to blue screen in the middle of recording, and I lost all the footage. But check this out. Opening kickoff of the game against a user. Take it to the house on the kickoff return. I've been able to do that in several games. Kickoff returns especially. If you can get to the outside, a lot of times you're going to score a touchdown. It's kind of hard to defend when you just run up the middle and then all of a sudden you just cut to the outside. That's typically how I've scored those things. And I've done it at least 2 times. It might have been 3 times, but he comes right back, right down the field, marches down there on that long pass play, and then a very, very nice play-action pass on the goal line. And he's able to tie the game up at 3. And now it's my turn to start moving the ball a little bit. And this is pretty much how it goes all game, just a back-and-forth battle. Just to talk a little bit about what I've experienced so far in NCAA football. It's been now a few weeks since the game's been on. I've played several different game modes. Road to Glory is still pretty darn fun. Obviously, it's not much different at all from NCAA 12, or actually NCAA 13, I should say. Not very many new features, really none at all, to be honest with you. It's basically the exact same game. So if you have NCAA 13 and we're on the fence about getting, is this 14? Yeah, NCAA 14. Wow. Like, the problem is, like, games come out and their years are like not quite correct. Like, it's 2013, yet we're playing NCAA 14. So it just doesn't make sense, but whatever. That's why I get confused sometimes. Like, MLB is MLB The Show 13. Why is NCAA on 14? Whatever. But if you strictly play Road to Glory and you already have NCAA 13, there's really no reason at all, in all reality, to upgrade to NCAA 14. Sure, there's some graphic improvements. The physics engine is pretty good this year as far as tackle animations, and you're being able to bounce off blocks and things like that. Some of that kind of stuff is definitely improved over NCAA 13, but it's really not enough to say I'm going to spend another $60 on a game where if you play Road to Glory, your experience is going to be basically exactly the same as last year. It's a very tough pill to swallow, but this is kind of how sports games are, especially EA sports games. There's really there's no competition here in NCAA football. There's no competition in Madden. So you're kind of relying on them to just be self-motivated to go ahead and do something innovative, to change stuff up. Now, obviously, you can say the Infinity engine is innovative. However, it's typically when you're playing a game with the Infinity engine, there's a lot of things that happen. And before I start, this is the first ever pass interference penalty I think I've ever seen in a football game. Just wanted to throw that out there. He clearly tackled me before I got the ball. But, yeah, that was the first time I think I've ever seen that called in a game, especially an online Dynasty game. You hardly ever see that. But anyways, back to football. Yeah, so that's probably the biggest downfall to these football games, is that there's really no competition at all. No one else makes a football game because they can't. Obviously, NCAA football is going away because they lost that license. I think that all has to do with the lawsuit that's going on with the players versus the NCAA to try to get some sort of kickback to players. They do all the work as far as playing the games and getting people into the crowd and getting all that money revenue, and then they get nothing out of it. So besides an education, which is huge, obviously. I mean, a college, to get his scholarship to college, especially a big college, is super expensive. I mean, you're talking $100,000 or more if you wanted to go to a place like Michigan. So, I mean, that's a huge cost that they get for free. But there's so many rules and regulations about how they can work and how they can earn money and all that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, these colleges are bringing in billions and billions of dollars of revenue from all these fans that come to these games, and they get sponsorships from, Adidas and Nike to wear their jerseys. They get money for going to bowl games. They sell merchandise of this with the, obviously it doesn't have names on them, so it's not like their name, but they sell the jersey numbers and stuff, and people buy it based on their favorite player. So, I mean, NCAA is making a lot of money off of these kids, so I can understand why they would want some sort of money. It's just I can't see how it'd be feasible to pay these guys, because you can't just pay football players. You can't just pay the big sports like football and basketball, baseball, hockey, things like that, the ones that actually draw crowds. Are you going to pay for like the badminton team or the volleyball team? You're going to have to pay all those people. Otherwise, then they're all going to come after them as well. So they got to have some sort of, I don't know if they do like a set amount of money that they give these guys each week. Like everybody, maybe like across the board, every athlete gets, $1,000 a month for expenses and things. I don't know how that will work out. Hopefully something will happen. But I think, going back to my original point, NCAA football broke its license with EA Sports. So now EA Sports is not allowed to make an NCAA football game. I mean, they could with just made-up colleges, but no one would buy that. So the question is, because of this lawsuit, are there going to be another manufacturer that picks up NCAA football license, like 2K Sports, for example? I don't know how many of you guys have played the 2K football games. They really haven't made a football game in probably 5 years, maybe longer than that. I can't remember exactly when the last one was, but it was a completely different feeling game than Madden ever was. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. I was one of the guys that actually liked the 2K football series over Madden. But that's really when Madden started to take off, is when the 2Ks really were there, because there was competition. Madden was forced to do things and change things up because people liked it in 2K. They had competition. They couldn't just put out a football game and people were going to buy it, because football fans are huge and they're going to want to play a game that's based off of their sports. So they really had no choice to actually do stuff that mattered, to change the game enough to where they were going to get people to want to buy the game. So hopefully with this NCAA ruling, that maybe another company will start making football games and give Madden a run for the show, a run for their money, I should say. So even if they're not doing an NFL game, but if they're doing an NCAA football game, that could make a huge difference even in Madden, because then there's at least another football game out there. Obviously, it wouldn't be NFL, so it's not apples to apples, but a football game is a football game. If something good comes out of that, I'm all for it. So here's hoping that 2K does take over the NCAA football license. Nothing's been announced yet. There's not even any guarantee that there will be another NCAA football game, just until this lawsuit's done. I'm sure the NCAA doesn't want to bring in that kind of revenue or sign licenses to have likenesses of their players that don't get paid anything into video games, and I think that's the big reason why it stopped. Probably not necessarily the fact that EA was doing it. It was more just the fact of overall that they didn't want to have that extra added thing of unpaid players in a video game that just adds more fuel to the fire for this lawsuit. So I don't know. Let me know what your comments are on that below. Obviously, everybody has a different opinion on whether or not college players should get paid. I'm of the mindset that they should get paid. It's just, I think if you start paying based on performance or play time or things like that, that's going to get so sketchy and hard to manage. I think you almost need just a set amount of money that each athlete, independent of what sport they play, every player should get paid the exact same amount. So A football player gets $1,000 a month. A volleyball player gets $1,000 a month, so on and so forth. And then the question is, do you pay walk-ons and things like that, or is it just scholarship players? How do you keep track of all that? That's the real question. And then when you're starting to pay players, so you're paying players, what's going to stop a team or a coach or an athletic director to pay extra to players to try to get them to sign there? Obviously, that kind of stuff goes on right now, but it might be a little bit easier to get away with that if you're already paying players to be able to slip them an extra $1,000 or $5,000 a month. It's very, very slippery slope when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this all works out. I really think that people have a case. The NCAA football players, actually players in general, have a case against the NCAA based on how much money the teams and schools bring in and how they get absolutely no revenue for that. They definitely have a case. But back to the game. I scored late there. You can see I'm up by 3 points with 2 seconds left. He's going for a very long field goal. I decided to call timeout and try to ice this kicker. Unfortunately, you can't see the little ice because it's him kicking, not me. But icing the kicker makes a huge difference. It's very, very difficult to judge that stuff. And he kicks it wide. I don't think it had the distance either. And we win the game, 34-31 against Cal on the road. Huge game for us. We are now 2-1 in the Dynasty. And I hope to bring these a little bit more often than I have. Hopefully, like I said, once a week. We've played probably 4 games or so past this one, so I definitely have footage. We will try to get that up soon. Peace.